Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where it's about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Gangs of London. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, obviously, we have the conversation between Ed and Sean. I was wondering how this was going to go down, and obviously for Sean, it's like, why did you and Elliot interfere? It's like, obviously, this isn't how things operate. Like, you handling things the way you did, like, that's not how Finn would handle things. So, like, the fact is, I didn't agree with you handling things the way you did, like, bringing in a psychopath like Cole. But it's also more so for Ed. It's like, okay, even if your plan wasn't to hurt them, like, you didn't tell me anything. Me and Finn, our entire relationship worked because it was based on communication. Like, we already knew, like, we were on the same page and stuff like that. You're kind of flying off the handle, kind of doing whatever you want. And obviously, Sean's trying to amend that a little bit by like, hey, all right, let's have dinner. You and Alex come. We're the entire family together. Because Sean was just thinking about earlier in the episode, like, he had a flashback to, like, his dad and Ed and Alex celebrating because it's like, oh my God, like, Alex is doing such a bang-up job with the money laundering and stuff like that. And obviously his dad's like, what are you going to do when I eventually die? Like, obviously Alex is doing great. You need to basically step up. Like, you carry the Wallace name, and that means a lot. So he's like, don't just, don't just fucking me. He's like, yes, I understand, Dad. And it's like, good. The fact of the matter is, it's like, basically, you keep the family close and everything will fall into place, essentially, So he's trying to, like, mirror what his dad was saying. Obviously, like, we also got a peek into his operations with Lale, and Lale's right-hand dude is like, are you seriously going to forget everything he did about the children? And she's like, shut up, don't bring it up. And the reason why Sean's like, oh, I can trust you, because for him, it's like, we're moving into the next generation. Like, the torch is being passed on. Like, the old fogies, they've been running the things for so long. It's our time now. And he's like, I only work with people I trust. And I now know what you are willing to sacrifice. And for him, it's like, because it's like, oh, your boyfriend doesn't like me. And it's like, Lala's like, my people will die for me. So now they will die for you, So for Lale, it is a situation of, regardless of everything went down, at the end of the day, like, Asif, like, his product filled the market, now it's going to be ours. So for her, it's like, despite everything, she gets what she wants. Asif is kind of left out in the cold. Like, it's kind of a middle finger to him. Like, yeah, it sucks Sean doing what he did, but hey, she kind of gets what she wants anyway. And if she can get even more money coming in that she can send back, then it's a win-win. Like, granted, stuff like that doesn't disappear. Like, whether Lale will backpedal on this later on and be like, oh, like, remember what you did to my sister and my nieces? I'm not going to forgive you. So she could always pop off like that. But for now, she's loyal to Sean, at least. But it's like, once again, it's always that thing of like, is it better to be feared or loved? He kind of created a circumstances of fear, but it's also a thing of, but you also need me. Because I think it's such an interesting thing because Lale, along with a lot of people, but Lale in particular was just like, oh, Sean, he's just a boy. Like, he doesn't, it's like, oh, now that boy kind of like flipped the script on you a little bit last episode. So that's why I think it's such an interesting development, just like, because she was like the first one to talk major shit about like, Sean's just a boy. Like, he's not his dad, so. But like I said, we'll keep an eye on that and kind of see where that storyline kind of develops. Like I said, whether or not Lale decides, like, at some point, like, oh, I don't need the Wallaces anymore. I don't need you. And it's payback for what you did. Maybe she's biding her time. Or maybe she's like, as a cost of doing business, I was willing to sacrifice my sister and my nieces. So, like, who am I to, like, judge you too much for doing what you were doing? I was willing to sacrifice them for my cause because it's, she's looking at the bigger picture, despite the personal self-sacrifice. So there's that angle to it. We get the Ed and Alex conversation. It turns out all those pictures were a hit that Luan, like, basically Luan got like a freebie of like $500 million of like not having to launder stuff or something like that. And Finn did it super off the books to the point Alex is like, I haven't seen that type of money like come across my book. And it's like, Ed's like, we both are left in the dark about it because normally like a hit situation, because basically it was like he was wiping out an entire bloodline. It's like, oh, like an Albanian bloodline. And it's like, Why? Who knows? It's like, was his main target like, even, I think that's what really struck Ed too. It's, for one, it's bad enough knowing that Finn, like, calls, like, a major hit, wiping out an entire family major hit, an entire bloodline major hit, but also, like, a 12-year-old, because that was also the thing, like, Elliot brings up later on. I'm not going to be a part of, like, killing some kids. Like, hell no, you know? So, it is that interesting circumstance of, like, I don't know if Ed's one of those people that would have crossed that line, too. I mean, for him, it's like, we do dirty business. Things could get nasty, but like calling in Cole, doing the hits. Sadly, probably calling in Cole is probably, you could probably make the argument he's actually following more in Finn's footsteps. But the thing is, for Ed, it's like, whatever this situation is, whatever Finn decided to do this, is probably why he got killed. Like, why that hit was put out on, you know, the whole circumstances were set up to kill Finn because of that. So it's like, okay, so we're going to tell Sean, right? It's like, Ed's like, no, because the fact is, I would be doing a disservice to Finn if I don't rein Sean in and keep him in check. And the fact is, with the way he's been operating lately, I can't trust him with this information until we figure out more, you know? So, and obviously Alex and Ed later on are meeting with Javine, and Javine's like, basically, it's like, oh, these, like, he's hooking them up with the connections. It's like, these are the people who are connected to the, like, most wealthiest people. Like, these are the representatives of the most, like, wealthy people around the world. So it's like Alex's way of handling stuff, like how he makes money disappear, like, you know, laundering and stuff like that. It's an art. It's beautiful. Like, the fact is, Alex, we need him to keep doing what he's doing, keep up, like, his deal with Finn. So it almost, I mean, and this is just me, maybe that's the point they're trying to get across. It's almost like they're positioning Alex more so to be like the head of operations of everything rather than Sean. It's like, yeah, Sean might be a Wallace, but it's like Alex is the one that's more valuable than Sean, it seems like. And it seems like Ed's kind of picking up on that, and even Alex being like, yeah, we probably shouldn't tell Sean about, like, this event, you know, this evening. And then Ed's like, yep, I agree. It seems like that's what they're doing, because he's like, oh, he's shaking the hands of all these people. Under normal circumstances, it would seem like Sean should be the one, but the fact is they want to meet Alex and stuff like that. Once again, it's because they see him as more value because of what he can do for all these powerful, rich people. Because it's like, yeah, London is where they come to make their sins disappear, and Alex is the person that can do that. So, like I said, I wonder, are they trying to position him to be the one that they kind of deal with? So, more secrets Ed's keeping from Sean, so... But obviously we learned a little bit too about Luan. That was interesting. Where Luan is basically in this position where, like, he was talking to his wife because, you know, she knows what's what. I mean, everyone's wives kind of have to know, like, at this point in time, like, you know, what everyone's kind of connected to. But it's like, he made that deal with, like, Mosi last episode? Yeah, and it was like, okay, so he's like, the whole conversation about, like, do I let Sean know what's what? Because Ed's kind of dragging his feet about, like, the deal. It's like, we got to do this before Mosi finds out what's what. So I guess his dealings with Mosi, or maybe some backdoor deal he made with Finn before he died. So it's like he's trying to screw over Mosi, or it's like, you know, actions need to be taken because shit's about. I'm not 100% clear on what that whole, like, Mosi and Luan Finn thing is. Like, maybe we'll get more context. Maybe the context is there and I'm just not understanding it. But it's like, I'm still trying to figure out what that whole Luan thing is. That's interesting to me. Like, it was like, oh, it seemed like you were ready to get in bed with Mosi, but now it's like, oh, you just want to talk to Sean first because this has to deal with the deal with it, because it's like essentially trying to say later on, like, oh, you owe me a lot of money. I guess that's what it's about, because it's like he needs the money that Finn owes him from that deal to, like, make this whole thing with Mosi happen. So maybe that's what that's kind of implying. So if that's the case, that's going to be messed up, because it's like, oh, basically Sean's going to kind of be funding his own downfall, interestingly enough. So there's that element. There's Sean getting his sister to come to dinner, which we still don't 100% know. Like, it's like, I'll be there for you and Billy, not her. It's like, what her beef is with Marion, we don't know. But, like, Sean was able to kind of convince her, because it's like, basically, I need you there. Because I think Jacqueline kind of plays the role of Switzerland a little bit. So, because we haven't seen Jacqueline since the funeral in the first episode. So, I think that was kind of an interesting element. Obviously, she's pregnant too and everything. So, it's like, she's like, fine, I'll come to dinner and stuff like that. Which, speaking of Marion, she's dealing with the fact is, like, you know, it's whether she was suspicious or whether it's just simply looking back on it now. She's at a restaurant her and Finn went to. Like I hope that wasn't like their special restaurant, because it turns out he went there with Floriana, so that's kind of like a yikes type of situation. Because she even asked the dude, it's like, tell me about tell me about it. It's like, what are you talking about? Floriana, my husband's mistress. And it's like, she was quiet, 20 something. And so she's dealing with that. It's like, this person's been busy. I'm assuming she could have been talking about, like, no, because it's like ever since Finn's death, he's been on the move. It's like she's got to be referencing Ed. They didn't ever show us, but it's got to be Ed, because Ed was probably clearing the deck of like all like Finn's stuff. It's like, because Jack was one of the other people who knew, only because he dropped Finn off, and it's like, well, you had to have some idea. So Ed's the secret keeper, so he's trying to keep everything in order. Like, he's trying to, but like, Ed's not going to be able to keep everything in order because Marianne knows the truth on her own, So, and obviously she went through like all his stuff, like all of Finn's stuff, looking for stuff. She's pissed, because, like I said, whether she had suspicions before or whether that's just supposed to be representative of her being like, now in retrospect, like she might have had some idea before, but now it's like, whether she did or not, it's all out there now that she knows. And she even brings it up to Sean, but Sean was like, not now, not tonight. The family's got to come together. We got to keep this shit like down packed. Like, I know you got your issues with Dad about Floriana and stuff like that. Granted, Finn doesn't. Because Marianne doesn't even know that. Because the only person that knows she's having his baby is, ultimately, we find out that she's been captured by someone. So so maybe that's what that, like, I'm wondering, whoever it is, are they playing for like the throne? Because that's why I'm wondering, like, because it's like a bastard child to the throne. Is that why they're like keeping Floriana? Because it's like, this baby, like, if we can wipe out Sean, and basically, I guess maybe the rest of the family too, this baby will inadvertently inherit everything when it turns 18 type of situation. Because it might be a thing that Finn has everything set up in the event of his death or whatever. Everything goes to like his next born son or something. So like, maybe like, Billy and Sean have to be taken off the board type of thing. Or maybe it's just in general, he's already left so much to Floriana's baby. So the moment that baby's born, Floriana's probably good as dead. It's like, the only reason why you're alive now is because you're having Finn's baby. So it's like, I feel like there has to be a lot of stuff that's set in the work, paperwork wise, that says like, because that's the only reason why I can understand like why they'd go after. It's like, that child is a Wallace, so it gets the keys to the throne, and so whoever it is trying to take advantage of that. Because we've met one cog in this machine, is some dude named Leaf, which I'm assuming his mom has to have some idea that it's like, he's holding a pregnant lady hostage downstairs. So there's that element. But circling back to the point I was trying to make earlier, being that Vic's like the only one that knows that Floriana's pregnant with Finn's baby. Like, she just, Marianne and now Sean know about an affair and a mistress, but they don't know about the baby yet. So that's going to be an interesting development on that front. I wonder, Ed knows everything, so Ed has to know that Floriana was pregnant. Which, speaking of Vic, we see her, like, getting some surveillance tape, seeing, like, she ends up calling Elliot later on, leaving him a voicemail. It's like, yo, I see someone that ends up picking up Floriana, Floriana got picked up, like, the day Finn got killed. But also, like, someone sent her a video being like, stop, because they showed that, like, someone snuck into her apartment, had a box cutter, and it was like, oh, so, like, if you don't stop, I say apartment, but I should be, since it's London, should be saying flat. I don't know, I kind of like the word, I like that better, like, flat than apartment. I don't know, I always think that's just kind of an interesting, once again, just the difference between, like, what would be the word? Like, I was about to say Anglo-Saxon, but it's like, no, that counts as European, right? Anglo-Saxon is, or is that, just American English versus, like, British, European English. It's just interesting to me. Once again, just the difference between words of, like, I don't know. I like the word flats in comparison to apartment or house or whatever. Regardless, so whoever it is knows that she's investigating, even had her number to be to be fair, like, she probably got in contact with Floriana, because I think the phone number said, like, I think it said Floriana, so whoever it is that's Floriana, it's like, oh, we know you're looking into her, because you're probably hitting up Floriana, like, where are you, I can help you, because I think she did leave a message or something like that, didn't she? So it's them getting back at me like, yo, stop, we've been to your place, we will kill you if you need be. So they have, not unless they don't know she's a cop. I think she, like I said, I'm blanking on it, but I think I do vaguely remember her leaving a message to Floriana being like, yo, I'm a cop, I can help you. So they know who she is, and they did that to set a point. It's like, we're not trying to kill a cop, but we will, and we know where you live, and we can get to you without you even realizing it. I mean, we snuck into your apartment, had a box cutter right close to your damn face, you didn't even realize it, because you were, snug as a bug as a rug, snug as a bug in a rug in your bed, is what I was trying to say. So that was an interesting development. Another element to this is the whole conversation about Elliot and his dad, because Ed and Sean were like, yeah, why was Elliot there? Who is he? Is he someone we can trust? Ed rolls up on his place, and it's like, oh, I'm having a conversation with your dad. It's like, oh, I used to watch your dad box. He could throw a punch, but man, he could lose a fight too, and he's just chuckling about it, which obviously that's a sore spot for Charlie. But it's like, all right, we also earlier see a picture of it, but Elliot, we see that there's a picture of him from, he was in the military at one point in time. I had skipped over it, but he did open up to Shannon about the fact is of like, yeah, it's been 2 years since he lost Samuel and Naomi, and he kind of opened up about it. She's like, you don't have to. She's like, I know what it's like. I lost my mom, and it's like, you don't really just fully piece yourself back together after a loss like that, because those relationships are still alive and well. It's like, by kind of keeping them like, they kind of live on, like, you not completely letting go of them, so those relationships still exist. So her saying kind of like, just because your wife is gone, that doesn't mean that relationship is gone. It's still kind of there. So even, it's like, oh, like, and they kind of joke about good times, like more happier each other. It's balloons. And then it's like, oh, like Paris. And he's like, well, what about, I prefer Rome. And she's like, too many churches. And he's like, do you think this is a good idea? And she's like, no, do you? And they kiss, but then Danny kind of walks in, and it's like, oh, no, I'll walk him to school. And the sad thing is, like, when he, like, because Danny's like, oh, I don't want to join the football team. It's like, oh, but is there someone that's kind of worse than you? Well, like, keep stealing the ball from him, like, kind of making him look absolutely trash. And then, like, you're going to look great in comparison. And when he's dropping him off, it's like, it shifts over from Danny to his son being like, bye, Dad. And, you see how it kind of hits him. So, but, yeah, like, back to Ed rolling up. So, like, obviously his dad doesn't know he's a cop. Luckily, I mean, maybe all he told his dad is like, hey, you'll be proud of what I'm doing. But, Charlie was like, I am proud of you, son. So it's like basically saying, like, if you knew what I was doing, like, the fact is I'm taking down a terrible organization like the Wallace organization, you'd be proud of me because I'm taking down some very, very, very bad people. But when it was all said and done, it's like, because it sounds like Charlie obviously has his connections to this world, because it's like, oh, yeah, you used to work with the Williams. It's like, yeah, so probably Charlie immediately knew who Ed is because he ran in those circles. He's like, oh, shit, you're with the Wallaces, And it's like, now he knows his boys mixed up in that. So Ed's like, I don't care what your reasons are. Fact is, I don't 100% trust you. So you guys are going to deal with this, like, robbery that took place this episode. Some idiots you're going to find out about. You're going with home, dude. When he tells you to do something, you're going to do it. And if I find out that you didn't do what you were ordered to do, because now you don't worry about Sean. I'm the one kind of giving you orders now. So when it's all said and done, if you don't do what you're supposed to, like, I'm going to come back and visit your dad. So and it was interesting too, because Home Dude was saying, like, oh yeah, people like who go into Afghanistan, they either go two ways. Either they kind of break away from the system or they go deeper. So kind of implying, like, either you go on the, like, super hard, like, one side of the spectrum where it's like, hey, I go away from the military, I go down the route of criminal, like a criminal or something like that. Or it seemed like he was kind of implying, like, or you dig deeper into the system in the sense that you stay in that, like, essentially winking at law enforcement. It seemed like that's what he was kind of implying. Which you actually kind of feel bad for those punks who end up robbing that store or whatever. Because it's like, Raheem's like, yo, Unc, like this. And he's like, you idiot. That was Wallace territory. It's like, but the old man's dead. Like, who cares? It's like, are you stupid? Sean blew up the Traveler's spot, killed like 20 people just to send a message. It's like, well, what do we do? He's like, no, you get this shit out of here, N-O-W now, you know? So they're trying to like fence it to whoever they can, but they can't. Obviously, like, Home Dude and Elliot roll up on the old man and threaten him, and obviously he's like, yeah, hit him, and it's like Elliot doesn't want to do that, so he just like throws the birds to kind of threaten the dude, because apparently, like, I guess there's pigeon racing or whatever, so he's like, he dopes his pigeons and stuff like that. But it's like, all right, leads him to Raheem, and now it's like everybody line up. All right, Elliot, beat the shit out of him, beats up the first dude, but while he's doing, he's like, go down quick to make this easier on himself. Beats him up. Okay, good. Moving on to the next person. It's like, I want you to break Raheem's leg, and his knee, and it's like, once again, hey, either them or your dad, and he reluctantly does it, and then it's like the lady, and it's like, break her arm, other dude steps in. I was kind of suspicious of the Home Dude the moment he found out they were connected to the Wallace. It's also like, oh, who's this dude? It's like, oh, new part of the crew. It's like, that seems like an undercover cop to me, and it's like, lo and behold, he's like, break my arm, and Elliot's, I'm not going to do it. And in that moment, that's when like Home Dude was like, oh, you're a cop, aren't you, or whatever. And I was like, shit, Home Dude's got to be an undercover cop. Like, the fact is, he was kind of like, Elliot kind of must have recognized him. They must know each other or something like that. But it's like, oh, we're going to bring him to Sean, because Sean, you know, the dinner, everyone's together and stuff like that really quickly. Billy didn't eat or anything like that. I was like, the way he's sniffing to him was like, he's got some drugs. Hell, he's even sad because like later on when everything's going down, like Marion walks in with Danny on Billy getting high, injecting himself. It's like, oh, jeez. Everything's kind of falling apart. But obviously it's like other families together. And we kind of get a little insight into the Marion and Jacqueline beef. For her, it's like, you know, it's like, oh, one of your sons a heroin addict and your other son is a thug. So it's like, is it a thing of like, can you really be giving him motherly advice? But for her, it's like, you're lucky I shielded you from your dad. Because I think it's the situation of, basically, because Sean and Billy are the boys, like, I think it's that mentality of like, oh, my sons are going to run the empire. So like, she was able to kind of protect Jacqueline from it. It's like, I gave you as much of a normal life away from this family. The fact of the matter is, I did my job. I wanted to raise someone good. I guess as like, raise someone so good, it kind of counteracts all the bad in the rest of the family to a certain extent. At least have someone so far away from all of this that, yeah, you might hate me, you know, and it hurts a lot. But I think that kind of hearing that perspective to realize, so I guess like she always felt like an outsider in the family, and I guess that's byproduct of like her Marion doing her best to make sure she was. It's like, I wanted you to have nothing to do with this family. I wanted you to be absolutely good, because I guess when it came to Sean and Billy, she didn't have much choice like of what they got mixed up in. Because I guess like she saw their path that like they were going down, because I'm assuming, and I could be wrong, I guess I was kind of under the impression like Jacqueline was the oldest, but I think she's the youngest, maybe. But regardless, I think it's just, if that's the case, it's probably like, that's probably even more so reason why like I need you like away from all this, because I'm already seeing what it's doing to your brothers, so who they're becoming. And it's like, I'm the reason you became who you are as well, because I shielded you from everything. But it seems like hearing that from Jacqueline kind of eased some pain, to the point like she let Marion touch the baby and be like, thank you. Like, we may not have the perfect relationship, but I appreciate you giving me this opportunity, you know? But circling back to it, Sean gets called away by Luan, who wants to fill him in, but he kind of says like, yo, I did something for your dad. You owe me some money. And then it turned, Home Dude, luckily, the moment Home Dude rolls up and before he has a chance to tell Sean about Elliot, I was like, oh, Home Dude's going to get it. He's going to die before like he's able to tell Sean the truth. And it turns into an absolute bloodbath. We get super graphic in this one. Home Dude's head explodes because Luan's like, get down, because he sees the shot aimed at Sean. Now with this, there's a lot of people this could be, because we saw like Nasir at that meeting where Alex and Ed were at, and Asif was saying like, oh, like they're making this deal behind my back, like Sean needs to know who he's fucking with. So it could be Asif, it could be someone else, because this could be the people. It seems like it's more so than anything, it's the people that are behind Finn's death, or whatever that's supposed to be, because Leaf got a text from someone named Tove being like, yo, Sean's on the move. So, but it was just, regardless of it all, it's just one shot after, circling back to it, one shot after another. And some people got it twice, but like home dude got it the hardest the first. Like his head literally exploded from that sniper shot. And so it's like, all right, you know, Sean's like caught up in the middle of it. Luckily, Elliot breaks free, sprints, people dropping around him. He grabbed, well, just before Sean gets shot, he pushes Sean on the way and takes the bullet, you know. And obviously Sean's trying to help him. It's like, all right, Luan's kind of biding them time. And obviously they like, you know, he's dragging Elliot away. And then you have home dude who's the undercover cop show up, and Sean being like, who the hell are you? And he ends up shooting the sniper, but it's like, all right, the sniper isn't dead, but it's like, all right, let's go to plan B. Well, after they ended up blowing up, poor Rashim's uncle or whatever got blown up because they struck I don't know whether it's like, oh, he knew for sure that I guess he saw the oxygen tank inside and ended up, you know, so luckily they got into another car, and Sean's just telling Elliot, like, hold on. It's like, yo, I owe you my life. And so they roll up at the place, and obviously, you know, we know that, you know, everyone's working together to, like, make sure Elliot lives. Once again, Danny's seeing this. Marion's like, okay, where do I take you? Damn it, can't take you. You know, and obviously Elliot's hallucinating, and when he's looking at Danny, he's seeing Samuel. Only person that's going to realize what that's all about is Shannon. But obviously, you know, Jacqueline doing her best. You know, she got the bullet out. It's like, are we going to take care of this? It's like, well, what do you do? I was super suspicious of that lady the moment, like, Elliot, like, at the moment Sean was like, get out of my way. And then she was just looking, I was like, I guess I don't think that was, I think that was a separate situation. Like, everything that went down with the Luan, I think, like, the sniper and everything, I think that was a completely separate thing. I think that had to deal with the Finn stuff. I think that lady at the party catering, I think that was Asif. I think that was him. So I think that was, like, basically two separate hits happening at the same time. I could be mistaken. It could all be connected, but I think that's two separate incidents, essentially, happening at the same time. Luckily, Ed and Alex rode up. Alex is actually the one that put her down. So it's like, what's happening to, who's doing this to our family? And honestly, that last shot was so good because it's like there's a mirror behind them, and it's like the bullet missed them. Either it was from like her firing and missing because Alex ended up shooting and she shot at the same time. I was also scared because I was like, please don't tell me like Jacqueline got hit or nothing. But it's like, nah, they're good. But it's just that final shot of the episode, and it's just like them all looking back at the mirror, and the mirror is cracked. I was like, from a cinematography standpoint, you know what you were doing. That image is sick. That could be like a freaking wallpaper in itself. That was just a beautiful shot in general. But it's like, that's awesome, you know. So a lot of interesting stuff set up in this episode. It's going to be interesting to see what the fallout, what this is all going to turn into. Obviously, this is going to bring Elliot deeper into the fold because it's like, well, home dude didn't get a chance. Everyone that would know about Elliot being the two that were there is like, well, they're dead. So, and home dude who's an undercover cop, I'm wondering how he's going to try and spin that about like why he was there and stuff like, you know, so we'll see how that plays out. But Sean's going to be grateful. It's like, hey, I owe you, Elliot. You saved my life. So figuring this whole thing out next episode is going to be interesting to find out, like, who's gunning for who. So many damn secrets. So many secrets. I'm also curious to see how Jacqueline handles this. Also, like, Shannon, it's like, oh yeah, your son, like, witnessed all of this. I mean, granted, that's kind of the sad aspect of, like, obviously, Sean and Billy and Jacqueline kind of known this world for such a young age, sure. So, you know, it's only kind of, like, almost befitting. Especially because Danny likes Elliot, too. So it's, like, you know, even sadder for him to see Elliot out of anyone kind of messed up like that. It's going to be interesting to see how this all ultimately... Well, also Shannon, too, because Shannon likes Elliot, so there's a lot to kind of be needs to be kind of set in place in this. So I don't know why I said that. I'm having a brain fart. It's going to be interesting to see just where this all ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy life. Be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Jeez. Good day, and goodbye.